The two Jills, a psychologist and psychic intuitive, reveal mind-blowing insights that turn psychology, self-help, and conscious teachings on their heads. Why? Because they work. Real help, sincere growth is here. Welcome to Psyched.
Hey, Jill.
Hi, Jill.
Oh, and hello, everybody, and welcome to Psyched. The topic for today is coming from, I was watching Chris Rock, the comedy, the other day, and he said, for those of you who believe words hurt, you were never punched in the face. And it just kind of cracked me up because, he just brought it to my attention that there is, this real cultural shift, if you will, that words are something to fear, that they can harm you, that we take them all very seriously, and we take it in way too deep. And so I thought today maybe we can talk about not whether words hurt or not, but if you're feeling that susceptibility or you're seeing others in your orbit with that susceptibility, if there's something that we can do on the brain level and on the belief level that can mitigate this vulnerability that seems to, be taking over.
I like that. The layer of this that I keep feeling in my brain is part of it also feels in modern society like we're trying to control others' words because we have allowed sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. Now we've changed it to sticks and stones will break my bones, and so will words, right? So now it's like, so we need to control the sticks and the stones and the words. And the idea that we can control another's words or even another's thoughts is such a self-deception. Right. So I love where we're going with this. So my kind of premise is because we can't control the sticks and the stones or the words or the thoughts that other people have, there are many opportunities we have to sort of revisit who and what we are as a structure, as an operating system, so that we can be more resilient in this world, not if, but when people have sticks, stones, and harmful words.
Yeah, that is just very well said. I don't know how we've done this shift. It was always the joke when you were young, when I was young, and somebody was saying something to me, I like sticks and stones could break my bones, but words can never harm me, and I usually stuck my tongue out and ran away. And I did have that belief system. And I don't know whether I tucked it in the back. I don't know really what I did with it. And I'm not sure I did a ton with it. I'm not sure I care that much overall about what people say. But I am just noticing that nobody says that anymore. Let's just say it that way.
Yeah, that's true.
Nobody says that anymore.
I mean, we could spend a whole hour kind of pondering how we got here. And I do have some ideas, but I don't think they're relevant to the topic either.
Yeah, agreed. So now that we are here, and I think people should be honest with themselves about how porous their fields are to other people's words, right? First, there's a taking stock of whose words I let in, how, even if it's the news, what are we letting in? Are we being sponges, or is there some sort of a gatekeeper that we can, in our own operating system, as you said before, that we can bring online to be much more discerning about what we want to bring in, i.e., bring in words that heal and repel words that don't. And we all have the ability to do this.
We totally do. There's a lot of levers there that I notice even my friends and family don't utilize, whether it's online commenting or who can comment on your post on Facebook. If it's somebody, do they have to be in your friend group to post a comment? There's so many when it comes to the digital arena. There's a lot of levers that we can manage there. So I love this idea really. And I love your word porous. Yeah, that porosity. Because I think for some people, I know for myself, I can be extremely sensitive. And I know that about myself. So it's my job out of self-love and self, reflection on, okay, so I can't control others. I can only control myself. So what feels the most loving to me? How bad does it hurt when someone, and I know for me, my porosity is when it's a public negative comment. There's an extra sting with that. If somebody were to send me a private email that said, I didn't like it when you did this, or this is a stranger, right? If a stranger emails me, because I do have public work, stranger emails me and says, I didn't like this and I didn't like that, and I hate it when you wear this top, whatever. And it's private, I probably just go delete. I mean, like, have a good day. You know what I mean? But when it's feels like it's blasted on something that I've created, I don't even look at what people are saying about me elsewhere. But on my website, the comments, or on my YouTube channel or whatever, I definitely look at, I'm like, oh God. So at some point I'm just like, okay, no commenting. If you have something to say to me, say it to me. And if you want to talk shit about me, you can do it somewhere else. But I'm not going to create a space for you to talk shit about me.
I mean, that's beautiful. There is just a functional, easy element there, right? It's that a lot of times when we're trying to bring in the good, the negative gets in the back door, so we do have to decide for ourselves if we can manage that. But we have to watch our mental health closely. We have to watch where we're going. We don't do that well here. We really trust that everywhere the brain goes, the emotions go, the flow goes, that's somehow okay. We're not driving that well. And I think this is a really good example of how we're going way over the cliff.
Yeah.
With some of these things. And I think the example that you bring up, yes, it's one thing being, humiliated in private, if the word humiliation, shame, however you take that stuff in, right? I'm not saying you.
But no, yeah. Just did it hurt or not hurt? Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So however we take that in, we're not saying that those things don't have reverberations. We're saying, if you really want to make a change here, you have to be a little radical and somehow get to a space where you don't believe words hurt in whatever form they come. I'm asking, try this on, try it on everywhere. You can always reject it later, but do take on this belief system and take it out for a test drive.
I like that.
What happens? I
want to add some words here, because I know for myself, I think I am more porous than you are, Jill. I think you are more just like, I think you dismiss. I think you have you're better at. I think you have a better system at that than I do. That you have, just adding that you have a choice. You have a choice in whether the words hurt you or not. And that alone it feels radical to parts of maybe an operating system that's like, well, she just said this, or he just said that, or they just wrote this or wrote that. So it's like, and then the helplessness comes in. Now I can't help but be hurt. Now I can't help but have a horrible day. Now I can't help but go and talk to all of my friends about what just happened. But the thing is, you can help it. Yes. You can help yourself. And one strategy I do want to offer that I think it works really well is our operating system, I love to visualize it as a bubble. So we're in this bubble, and there's words, written or verbal, doesn't matter, that's offered right outside of our field. It came from someone else. You have all this space in your field. And when we are super vulnerable and porous, we can feel like our bubble is way too close, it's way too tight. So there's not enough space for reflection, consideration, dismission, of somebody's ideas that we disagree with or that somehow hurt. And we want to just set it on the shelf. Okay, I'm going to put you in a little parking lot outside my field, and I'll consider you later or not. Right. And that is self-love. That, to me, that is self-protection in a way from all the just nonsense that is offered to us and we're bombarded with sometimes in this world. But we do have a choice, and that part I think is a big step for a lot of people.
I think that's really good. I do think when when we're shrink wrapped in, there is no space. I really love that visual that you have there. It's almost like everything is just touching too close to you, right? So this is what we are offering in trying on an alternative belief system is creating that space in the brain, something that has just, it's almost like the frog in the pot, right? It's just, we didn't realize how close everything was getting to us until we're scalded. And so I think I don't want to say that's how we got here, but it was a slow erosion of our, I don't want to say defenses necessarily, but our discernment of our awareness. And part of it is because we're bombarded with so much information, all the time. So we feel like we have to watch the news to be up to date. That's a belief. Is that serving you? How do you feel when you're watching it? Do you start to feel helpless? Because the helplessness is a product of this, but it's also serves to deepen us further. So if we're susceptible to words, to other people's words, whether it's in the form of news that makes you helpless, in the form of other people's comments about things you can't fix or don't want to fix, watch your level of almost, I want to say, victimization, right? There's the helplessness that we're starting to feel. And if that compounds, it's almost like we've lost our tether. We're going down so far. And that's why you and I, we don't care how we got here. We work with what doesn't work. So we're seeing that there is a belief system, words hurt. We don't think, look how much time, as you were describing before, you're now going to take what happened to you and share it with someone else. You're going to ruminate over what happened and how to fix it. You're going to rationalize what a shitty person that was who said something like that. You're going to spend a lot of energy trying to just get yourself to a place where you're brittle, but you're held together. It's too tenuous. It's too easily, it's like glass. It's too easily shattered. It's not, we can't do that. We can't do that to ourselves. It's not self-loving. It's not functional. It doesn't make sense. It's not logical.
Right. It isn't. I love that you added all those words because, I mean, let's be honest, that energy that is being consumed by those things, that's energy you're not using on other things that are more of your choosing, right? The other part I find fascinating in modern society of words hurting is words that don't have anything to do with you. That is just, that's a phenomenon to me, that there are these reality shows and so forth about, we can feel empathic anger about something that isn't even happening to us, right? And that's news related too. You're supposed to be as mad as these guys and you're way over here, or you're tangentially connected to that community. It is so, I understand it because I feel like it's tapping into compassion and empathy, and I love compassion and empathy, but there's got to be some boundaries here, and that's where that ball comes in. So I would love for people to really have a healthier process of their brain noticing, is this about me, or am I mad on behalf of somebody else, or am I hurt on behalf of somebody else? It's different if it's your child, right? And you're hurt on behalf of them. That's different. If it's somebody you've never even met, what are we doing? What are we doing?
I like that. One of my, you said before, like, Jill, you're kind of good at deciding what you allow in and what you don't. It was a long road. I'm going to be honest. I was so emotionally raw when I was younger. I felt like I was a walking nerve ending. That's the way I said it. And I over time was very much like, that's a disaster for me, right? It did become very clear that I didn't want to operate that way. So I went more in the Spock direction. You and I have talked about like the Spock. I'm like, I'm going to be much more clinical about how I spend my emotions, how I direct my thoughts. Like I do ask myself, my daughter had a great line and I ask it all the time. It's like, do I want to send my brain in that direction? Like, do I actually want to take this and go over there? So there is an agency to the way I choose what I choose.
It could be radical for a lot of people to even consider that if the next time, because it will happen, it happens throughout life. This doesn't go away. People don't stop saying hurtful things, and it kind of doesn't matter if they intended to be hurtful or not. It just is to you. That's what really matters. That you have a choice whether to be hurt. That's radical. I didn't have that system before, right? So I would just kind of, stuff things like, okay, I'm very resistant about the archetype of a victim. I hate to feel like a victim, even when I'm sick or I'm in the hospital for something. I'm like, nobody, I can't control it, but I'm like, oh, please, somebody just look me in the eye and don't treat me like a patient. You know what I mean? So I'm sensitive to that. And my coping strategy in a way throughout life has been, I'm going to avoid being a victim, right? So if something does hurt me, I'll either set it to the side, okay, I know you're hurt, I'll deal with you later, you know what I mean? Or I advocate, right? Because to me, that's non-victim energy. So I'll say sometimes, okay, I don't know if you meant to say what you just said, but I don't like the way it feels, what you just said. So then I don't feel like a victim, I feel like I'm engaged, right? And then I'm not shutting down when maybe they're getting activated in a mean-spirited sort of way. I will stand up and just go, okay, so what I think might be happening here, and I'll address it head on on my best days. Or maybe my best days is I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I did the Jill Lankler move.
Right.
But addressing it to me is important because I'm very sensitive about the victimized energy because that isn't my preference. So I will choose to be proactive, and I want to say assertive, which is very different than aggressive. Aggressive to me is based on anger. Assertive is, oh, there's something that I want to address, and I will do so calmly, coolly, intelligently, rationally, right? And let's see how this feels. Let's see how this goes. And sometimes it does. There's a lot of bully kind of energy that is very subconscious, and they're not expecting someone to say, even on behalf of somebody else, I just heard you say this to that person. And did you mean to say that they look horrible in that outfit when we're already out and about? Did you know you said that? You know what I mean? And then it shuts it down. And there is that subconscious bully energy that can just go, oh, okay, I can't do that around her. Damn straight you can't.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think if we are, I'm just going to flat out say it if I didn't already, if you are susceptible to words hurting you, I do feel that is a direct correlate. It can't be any other way than a victim energy. And if in this world, we are not taking the initiative to set up our boundaries, boundaries is a tough word there, but to be present about and discerning about how we want to operate here, then we are victims to our circumstances. So if we believe that other people, we've said it 1,000 times, have to behave so that we can feel better, that is the definition of a victim. And I think in terms of, for me, the discernment comes with, there's a very fine line. Let's use news, for example. So there's a very fine line. I was taught that you need to be updated on the news. That was just a belief. And that if you're not, you're ignorant. And I don't want to be ignorant. That's one of my things. So I watch the news to my detriment. So to avoid something I don't want to be, I'm taking in information that is not doing well for me. And I feel the weight of it. I feel the helplessness of it. I feel the dysfunction in perpetuity, the unsolvable nature of it. It literally, it gets right in. And so I had to start to ask myself, what X I'm trying to solve here? Ignorance has turned into, and people have said it, bliss for me. It has created a much more functional me by not having to compensate and fix the damage that I allowed to happen, right? And then in my mind, I just really wanted to set the boundary for myself. There is stuff I can't do anything about, is a strong word, but it's not my fight. It's not my area. It's not mine to fix. Let's put it that way. Once I come to that realization, which is a way of me honoring myself, it is not a helplessness. Me saying that's not mine to fix is super powerful, in my opinion. At least energetically, that feels powerful to me. And once I'm able to say that, I can extricate myself from that, and I can advocate for me, to me. And then I can get into the stuff that is mine. This is what you talked about before. It makes me double down in the power that I feel in my sphere. I have a lot more energy to be kind to people. I have a lot more patience, a lot less frustration. My eyes are much more open because I don't kind of have this gnawing, victimized, helpless, hopeless, distracting bubble over there. We don't realize how these things hang over us and really do affect our moods, not just while we're watching it, but we take that frustrated energy with us everywhere we go, unless we actively choose to do something about it. And that's what this podcast is about.
I love that. I just was making a couple notes there as you were showing this, and I thank you so much for giving an example that is so non-personal, the news. It's so good, because all of my examples are very personal. So I love yours, and it's balancing it out, because that's real. Non-personal things can hurt our feelings. So I would like people also to consider maybe some patterns, maybe really have some time for self-reflection on what are the situations when you have been the most hurt. Does there tend to be a common person? Does it tend to be the same person that's involved? Is it the same situation? Is it a hormonal flux, right, that you're in at that time, either your intermenstrual cycle or perimenopausal or postmenopausal? Are you more vulnerable during those times? What is your porosity in those situations, right? That's great to think about too. I know for myself, I didn't realize how much I was just kind of, I want to say, taking from when my kids were teenagers. And I was like, okay, so I had decided non-conscious, I guess I'd been less consciously choosing how much of a negative behavior or just non-gratitude, they could ride the bus, but I'm bringing them to school in the morning and I'm picking them up after school. And there's just this, kind of attitude. I was like, well, they're a teenager, and I remember being a teenager. So I don't need to say anything. This is just, we'll get through this. And then there was one day and I was just like, okay, enough. And I was like, and I pulled over the car on the way home and I said, I wouldn't let my friend treat me this way. You haven't spoke to me the entire way home. I went out of my way. I dropped everything to get you on time and be at the school when you got done with junior high, when she was younger. And there's no hi, there's no hello. I gave you a hello and I hope your day went well kind of thing. And then I turned on my music to create my own mood, realizing you're not engaging. But I just want you to know this is unacceptable. I do deserve better than this, and I don't like this. And I think you're better than this. And I didn't need a response. I just started driving again. And it was better, because at least if she was in a sour mood, it didn't feel as heavy. It felt a little bit more neutral, like this isn't my mom's fault. You know what I mean? So little things like that with people that are anywhere, just sort of toxic energy. It is interesting that somebody else could say the same thing and it doesn't hurt as bad. But certain people, when they say something, it hurts really deeply. And here's the thing with the patterns. There are some people that you will say, hey, that hurt my feelings. This isn't, don't ever say that to me again, or we're not going out anymore or whatever. But with some people, it's like, well, I can't say that to them because maybe they have a position of power. Maybe nobody wants to make that family member angry. Maybe nobody wants to make that friend mad at you because you get harsh consequences if you piss them off. So that's important to think about too. I decided at some point over my life that those people that you were afraid to get mad were the ones I did not want in my life. Yeah. If it's a relative, I can't, but I can make a lot of space between me and them and minimize my contact and interaction with them. I don't want to make time in my life for people that for whatever reason enjoy picking on people, knowing that they've created this toxicity where no one holds them accountable for it. I just have zero patience for people like that. I don't care who they are.
Yeah. I think you and I are actually pretty direct, the Jills.
Yeah, that's true.
So we will try to offer, I think you and I come from the perspective of we're always giving people the opportunity to rise to the occasion and be their best self. If I'm saying something to somebody because they've misbehaved or, they're acting petty or childish or whatever, I'm going to say it not because I'm trying to fix them or I'm even trying to get revenge. I'm really saying it because in my heart, I know they don't even want to be like that. So I always tell my kids, you and your kindness and your goodness, give people the opportunity to be their best selves. Not everybody's going to take you up on it. And I have found over time, yes, I can distance myself from people, and I think that is what I have done in the past. I say I break up with them. But lately, what's been happening for me is I literally don't care. So there's so I guess what I'm offering is there are layers, and it's going to be different for different people. Some people you're literally not going to care, and you know who those people are. It's kind of what you're saying, and think about that. But I will tell you, I will offer that I think even in those people where you do care, there is a space and leave room for it where you honestly don't give a shit. And the reason that I say that is because the brain likes to say, this person's out of my life, I'm done. And then it just kind of stops growing, if you will. And avoidance is an absolute important tactic. When you can't do anything else, you can't shift your perspective, you don't have the bandwidth, just fucking run away. I totally agree with that. Like, goodbye, right? So I think that's a very important, tool in our arsenal. Mm-hmm. But I also think the ones that satisfy me even more is when I can look at somebody behaving egregiously and just be like, wow, sounds like you're having a bad day. Even if they're coming at me like full throttle. And I might have given this example, but I think it bears repeating. I was working in a food pantry, and it was at a time where a lot of people found themselves in a food crisis that were working, that had just never expected themselves to be in a food pantry, shopping for groceries for their family. And so one gentleman came in, and I'm a volunteer, right? And he was having a day. He was very angry, taking it out on me, really giving it his all. And I addressed all of his things that he was complaining about on the surface. And then he just started in with the same arguments about the same things that I just addressed. And because there was space in my balloon at the time, I was able to see that it wasn't about whatever he was bringing up, because I had addressed every concern that he had. And so I just kind of looked at this super angry, venomous man, and I put my hand on his shoulder. I'm just like, are you okay? And the guy just completely fell apart. He's like, I just lost my job. I don't know how I got here. I mean, it was the saddest, most wonderful communion, merging, right, of two people. But I could have also been like, you're an asshole. I'm a volunteer. Go, like, get out of here, right? I could have done that too, in a way of protecting myself. And so I think what I'm saying is, we need a lot less protection. We need a lot less armor. What we need is an operating system that allows for these things without going like a barb right in before you even catch it. There is space for all of this crazy behavior out there, but we have to create that. And yeah, that's my example.
What a gorgeous example, Jill. Oh my God. I just like, yes, it's so good. I feel like what we're talking about is actually a forgotten key to happiness, because happiness is not based on everyone saying and doing the right things in your life. Happiness to me is having a really big balloon and recognizing what I do every day and how my operating system works, and just my thoughts and all of these things that support my enjoying myself, enjoying my life, enjoying this reality as much as possible, given that there's a lot of people having shitty days and shitty lives, right? And there's only so much that I can do about that. But your hand on his shoulder is just such a beautiful example of, there are definitely times when we hopefully are prompted to kind of cut through their meanness or ugliness and just see if there's a more, raw human connection there that isn't based on pain, anger, hopelessness, and suffering, right? There's a lot there. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love your word.
The prompt, right?
Yeah, he did.
Everybody, every conversation we're having is to give somebody the chance to come back to themselves. That's the high that I get in engaging with people who nobody wants to engage with. That's why I went into mental health to begin with, because these people are so misunderstood and marginalized and scary to people. And there was not one criminal, not one mentally ill person who wasn't misbehaving at some point. And I just could look past all of that and just be like, let's talk. What do you got? Right? Like, it's this. And sometimes I have people who are trying to say things about me that either that I'm white, or I, whatever category they're trying to put me in. Like, you don't understand, you've never been this, whatever they're trying to say, that telling me that I don't understand them. And my feeling is, I used to be very susceptible to that, being like, yeah, I never walked in their shoes, I must be ignorant, I must not know, and all of that. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I worked in prisons. I worked in mental health facilities that you wouldn't walk into, right? So you haven't walked in my shoes. I worked with drug addicts. I've worked with people for free who nobody will go near. I'm comfortable with the way I treat people. I'm comfortable with the kindness and the care that I offer people who are suffering. What would I say? I've given up on the guilt that other people have tried to impose on me, but I had forgotten myself. I almost forgot my roots in the face of all of this, the way people see me now, right? Whether it's because of finances or the way, because I'm in a different place all the time, people just think a certain way. And I was embarrassed by that, right? You know what I'm saying? And now I'm just like, no, I'm okay. I'm okay with me.
Love it. I have an example of you doing this, by the way, because I remember when we were in Chicago last summer, we went out to dinner and we were walking back to the hotel because I don't think we took Ubers the entire 3-day weekend that we hung out together. We were walking all over. And we were walking back from dinner in a different part of downtown Chicago to our hotel, which was also in downtown Chicago. And there was one area where there were tents with habitants underneath one of the bridges. And I was like, yeah, let's cross over here. And my philosophy is I'll love them from this side of the street, right? And you're like, no, let's just walk by. We're good. And you gave me a little philosophy lesson in another way to look at that. And I'm still like, no, I just, yeah. Mental illness, possibly high on drugs equals unpredictability and what I call Wetiko behavior. And I'm just not, I love myself enough and I'm not loving them. I want nothing but well for them. But I feel very like I belong, I want to keep myself safe over here because I have no idea what you're going to do. And
Yes.
yeah, but you
Look,
you were fearless, and it wasn't out of naivete. It was out of your constitution.
yes. And I think you bring up a good point. I am trained. Okay. So I don't recommend that everybody, go up to homeless people who have a crack problem and start engaging in a conversation. That's not what I really meant, I meant about that. So don't try this at home is kind of what I'm saying. Do be discerning. If you don't know how to handle someone or you are concerned about their unpredictability, like that doesn't mean you think they're a bad person and and it doesn't mean you're a bad person. But I was really just, yes, be careful. You should be careful, be discerning.
Yeah,
be aware.
Trust your instincts, and you have different instincts than I do, and I really respect it and love that about you. I'm like, that's cool. And it was cool because I didn't feel bad about myself. I didn't feel like a bad person for going, yeah, I'd rather walk on that side. I'd rather take this crosswalk here and then crosswalk back. But I just, you didn't shame me. There was no judgment. There was just okay.
Yeah, I'm used to that. I mean, New York City you don't get a lot of that in Boise. I get a lot of that in New York City. That's like, but that's a Tuesday.
Very true. Constitutionally, you have this uniqueness, and yes, experientially, just where you live and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, all right. So where are we? Words can hurt.
We have more choices. We definitely covered that one well. I love the many examples and points that you brought up so far. Avoidance. Okay, for the individuals that you just, for whatever reason, you maybe know them really well, maybe it's a family member or somebody in your office, and it just never goes well. Either they're hurtful to you or they're hurtful to someone else. If you can avoid them, I'm a fan of avoidance, and I think of avoidance as not that I can't take it, but I acknowledge that you are a zebra and I prefer horses, right?
Yes.
And that's just, I'm not, trying to, I'm not trying to make them that they're not human or that they're some evil monster. I just have a record of behavior going on of acknowledgement that leads to like, it's just not worth it, kind of avoidance. So there's no hand on the shoulder for some of the situations in my world.
Absolutely not. I mean, but look, there's a real awareness there that you're in a pattern and you can't break the pattern. So getting distance from it is at least putting a monkey wrench in that pattern. So I do think that that's a very important thing. I really don't want to overstate that. You're not doing it with, I'll show you. It's not a passive aggressive situation. It's I don't know how to deal with this. I haven't found a way out. I've tried many things to shift up this loop that I seem to be. I think I'm coming at it differently all the time, and I end up down the same, flushing myself and this other person down the toilet. There is a very good awareness that this isn't good for either of you. If it's not good for one person in the relationship, it's not good for the other one. So being the person who actually breaks away, there is a kindness in that, in my opinion. Somebody's got to rip the Band-Aid off. So again, it's not, there is a benevolence to it if it's done in the way that we're kind of describing it. If you're doing it from I just throw my hands up, I hate this person, I tried so hard, they're permanently broken, there's a lot of blame in it, that's not gonna, that's gonna be sort of stuck in your field in that way. But acknowledging the way I've just described, I actually think does start moving the dial and rewriting the program without you having to be in contact with that person regularly. The program writes once you start to, add a little 0 or a 1 into it. It starts to shift.
To change. I like that. And this whole idea that I love that you added benevolence, because and some people, maybe especially people pleasers, are like, well, you can't just avoid somebody that's rude or that's mean. I can't not show up. But benevolence is still meaning them well. I still want good things for, that's what the benevolence is. Malevolence is, I hope you die. You know what I mean? I hope you suffer. That's malevolence. And that's how you can tell the difference and really be true to yourself and your own heart, because I would think that most of the audience listening to this are very benevolent oriented people that don't want harm for another person. They do want good things for everybody, and they just want to not be hurt as often.
The benevolence part is bringing out the best parts of you. If you're breaking up with somebody and remaining the victim to that person, even at a distance, then you've actually done nothing, because you're maintaining the mindset that makes that person the aggressor, and then you have to avoid that person as that aggressor. So you and I are talking about the mindset. You have to find your way out of the mindset of the victim. You have to see why you're taking yourself out of that person's orbit, and you have to update the programming that allows that person to just be a blank in your life that's on a different train track than you're on. That uncouples the energy.
And it starts with behaviors. It starts with different choices, i.e. different behaviors on their part, right? And for anybody that's a little bit stuck, like, I keep getting hurt by this person, please reach out to somebody. I mean, and I love the idea that if you reach out to Jill Ankler, right? I mean, oh, Jill, I mean, there is a part of me going, next time I have my feel, I'm totally going to call you because you have a very, I just love how, I just love how there's that, oh, well, I love the perkiness in a way of the intention is so clear. There's a crispness to you. It's not soft and squishy in a passive, nothing's going to change way. And mine is more like, oh, it's a zebra, just keep walking. And yours is like, I don't think it is a zebra. I think that's paint. So if you're going to reach out to different people to get different answers, and don't be afraid of a different, if you sense somebody's going to have something totally, literally radically different than other advice you've gotten, I would say that's the person exactly to ask. Yes. Because your brain may totally crack at, oh my God, I never thought of that. This is radical, right? Yes. It pains me when I'm interacting with a client that is in some sort of a emotional abuse or verbal abuse sort of situation. And I don't want to go into the deep end of the pool here, to use your words, but yes, they've separated from them, but they still read all their texts. And I'm like, yes. You haven't blocked them yet? What are you doing? Yes. Well, I have to be in communication. I'm like, do you though? Can't you have somebody else be in some sort of a intermediary for you in this breaking free mode that you're in right now? This is a critical time of yes. You don't even just block them, right? And some people have never blocked anybody. And I'm just like, I don't know whether to interpret that as you've never had somebody toxic in your life, or you've never given yourself permission to say, I don't want to hear anything you have to say to me. Blocking them on your phone, blocking them on social media. Yes. Oh yeah. Block. I've got a long block list.
There is a belief in a lot of compassion people, empaths or whatever, that we should be able to take this shit.
Oh, thank you for bringing this up.
Right.
Go ahead.
So it's almost like a hubris, or a, goes back to the martyr episode that we did, right? That there's power in being a martyr. Martyrs are victims. I want to say it very fucking clearly. That is really not, you cannot get around that. A martyr is the opposite of someone who protects themselves, care for themselves. It is not a good situation, and martyrs are not required here. We need to operate in a way that we can be interacting with our environment and being discerning in the environment, to have a mindset that we should just be able to eat all this garbage is a really problematic mindset, and it needs to be evaluated, and it needs to go. And it needs to be looked at as the victim mindset that it really is, because it's lipstick on a pig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll add some other words on this. I've seen it
Not
in
the fucking.
No, I'm good with your F word. This idea that within spirituality and enlightenment kind of communities, consciousness communities, that somehow it is more enlightened to not be, it's like to not have words hurt. It's more enlightened to go, if somebody says, oh my God, what a train wreck you are today. I can't believe you walked out of the house like that. I always make these superficial things, which is silly. Anyway, and the enlightened person just say, you're just having a bad day. I'm so above. I'm not hurt at all. Your words have bounced off of my light essence that I am, and I will just hop and skip along my day as if that never happened, but just sending you love and light. That's fine if that's real. But if it isn't,
Right.
If it isn't real, and there's a part of you that 2 hours later is still looking at your shoes going, maybe they're right. Maybe I shouldn't have worn these shoes, whatever the offense that you've supposedly committed is, if you're still thinking about it, then you didn't bounce off you. I'm sorry to break it to you, but I feel like it's unenlightened to pretend something doesn't bother you that does bother you.
Agreed.
That's phony. That's fake. It's completely artificial. It's denial, and it's very unevolved. It's totally unevolved because it's this faux sense of enlightenment and spirituality that's just filled with bullshit all across the way. I hate it when like yoga teachers are like, I'm so zen, and I'm like, you are so type A. You're me, honey. And you can't see it because you're trying to, ohm your way out of it. But I see it. And I'm fine with it. I embrace my type A, right? But there's a lot of self-denial going on here.
There is. And I think it's very nuanced here, right? You and I are trying to thread a needle, because we are saying, be real with yourself. That is really the essence of this. When I say update your belief system, really look at, do you have a belief system, whether you caught it from the culture or you grew up with it? Do you have a belief system that says words can hurt me? That's step number one. Okay. Then, yes, if you have it, one of your options is, yes, go into denial. It's almost what psychology is, the reaction formation. You still hold the belief, but you pretend you don't. That's not what you and I are talking about. You and I are talking about getting rid of something at the belief stage, not at the offense stage. Once you've called it an offense, there's no backing out of it. That's fake, right? But there is a space, and we're asking you to back up from the content and go higher into the brain. I don't care how it manifests out here. I care what the operating system is. So if you are harmed by what someone else says, use it. Say, oh my God, I must hold a belief that words hurt, which means that I'm a victim to air coming out of someone's mouth. I need to think about that for a minute. I need to think about whether I want that to be true for me. I definitely wouldn't want it to be true for my children. So the only way that I can operate is with me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take that belief and I'm going to challenge it. I am going to challenge that. Is this really hurtful? Is there a space where I don't care about what this person is saying? This requires some Play-Doh, some putty, some manipulation, and massaging of these things without having them be said and harpooned in one fell swoop. We're trying to create this space of that person said that sucked, and there's a world where I don't care.
Yes. And another belief system to poke at, similarly to this one that you're addressing, which is great, is the belief system is I have to take this. Somebody is hurtful, energetically or literally with words, and I have to take it because it's my teenager, it's my boss, it's my partner, it's my sibling, right? And that's also a belief system that is worthy of curiosity, reconsideration. Is that true? Do I have to take that? Or can I just say in a very calm, self-loving and loving of others way, when I pick you up tomorrow, if you don't say hello and thank you when we get back to the house, you can ride the bus on Friday.
See, but I think what you're saying there's a space in there. If you say it from a victim energy, you're going to be victimized by that person's response, because the victim energy
I agree.
keeps going. No,
I agree.
know.
Yeah.
So basically, if the victim idea holds, it's almost like it's built in, it's baked into what we're talking about. So when words hurt, they hurt because of the victim energy. That person cannot effectively, from that energy, advocate or say anything that will change things, right? Because energetically it's tied to the victim space. So for instance, when I work with people who are in the process of getting divorced, they are sure that every problem they're having in their life is the result of the partner that they're connected to by a piece of paper. And if that piece of paper is ripped in half, then things are going to be great. And I'm like, no, you're still energetically tied in the same interaction pattern with or without that paper. The divorce will do nothing for you because energetically you haven't created the shift. So when you and I have that discernment, and other people too, I'm not saying it's just you and I, but when we're talking about that discernment, when somebody does something shitty and I look at that, I'm like, that was shitty. I'm not saying it from a victim space. So that person, we have the best chance that that person is going to hear it, because it's almost like not blaming.
Yeah.
It's just matter of fact, that was shitty.
I want to, because this could go into a gray area that's unnavigable for some people. So let's maybe put some different words on this. To me, and I do want to hear yours too. To me, victim energy is I'm hurting and I need you to acknowledge my hurt. And self-advocacy is I don't like the way I feel right now, and I'm willing to kind of assert and be proactive about maybe there's another way to do this, and I'm willing to kind of tee up some ideas for how we can do this where it doesn't make me feel as shitty as I do right now. So it's not
I don't feel that's a victim energy. I feel like it's already
very empowered.
It's power.
It's self-love, it's choices. It's kind of like, okay, I don't like how this feels. I wonder if I try this, maybe I won't feel that way again, right? But it's not asking them to do anything different. It's you doing something different, right? So another example I use often with partners where somebody came home and they're in a bad mood is, well, what are you doing sitting there next to them? If they're just sitting there being toxic in their favorite chair, I mean, why not say, it's okay. It's almost like I help them see they have permission to go, looks like you've had a day. I'm in a good mood. I want you to be in a good mood. I'm going to go on a walk. If you want to come with me, you can. But I'll be over here. And if you're ready to have a great night together, then you can find me. And then just walk out.
100%.
Right? And they're like, no, you can't do that. It'll make them mad. I'm like, they're already mad. And it had nothing to do with you. It had nothing to do with you. They came home mad.
I think you and I are actually saying the same thing. I think the quagmire that we get into, and we're seeing the snowball effects of it, are when somebody does something shitty and you need them to confirm your victim.
Yep.
That you were victimized by their thing. That's going in the wrong direction. But if you look at what's happening culturally, that is what everybody wants. You confirm that I was a victim, then I will be happy. They don't realize how damaging that is. Once a victim, always a victim, unless, go ahead, unless you're doing what we're trying to.
No, you're right. And you're using different words, and I appreciate that, because the words that I would put to it are, it's almost like, I need you to take accountability that you hurt my feelings. And the words I hear all throughout modern society are, you need to say you're sorry. And there's a part of me going, but they may not. And even if they do say sorry, what kind of tends to happen with somebody that says they didn't say it, they didn't mean it. It wasn't sincere. They didn't do it right. I didn't get the apology that I deserved. And I'm like, I don't know what you're looking for here, honey, but I don't think you're going to get it. So another approach instead is, I really wish that wouldn't have happened. I wish they wouldn't have done what they did that I'm asking them to apologize for. But the same person that did that is I'm probably asking the horse to beat the zebra in this case, because somebody that would do that is oftentimes the same person that will give you the phony apology, the classic apology of, I'm sorry that hurt your feelings, versus I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. They will not, there's just a lack of accountability there, and you can't force that on someone. So you do yourself a service by just acknowledging, wow, this is a shitty thing. I think it's a shitty thing they did. I don't care who agrees with me. We don't need to create teams here. I don't need to tell 10 of my friends to see if they want to team me or team them. I can just look at this, go to therapy or get a session to kind of clear this out of my own energy field and just go, I may never get the I'm sorry. I may never get the apology. They may do this again to me or someone else. And what do I want to do if that happens again? And what do I want to be in this situation for myself? Those are a lot of choices. Now, I totally acknowledge, and it's funny because there's this kind of entertainment, gossipy based podcaster I listen to because I don't have to think. She just makes me laugh. Yeah. She's a stand-up comic. And God, she's got the drama going on right now. There's a part of me that she's bringing her entire audience into it. And there's a part of me going, why is she doing that? But I get why, as a public figure, sometimes you feel like you have to air the dirty laundry, because if you don't say your side, somebody else will say it for you, and they may leave out important bits that may make you look much worse. And maybe you didn't commit an offense here and you are innocent in the situation, and you have the right to say what happened to you. So anyway, It's a little aside. It's Heather McDonald, by the way, for those of you.
I don't know who that is.
Who is she talking about? Heather McDonald. I saw her on HBO when my kids were little, and her kids are similar age. And she had this bit about her kids in Costco, and one of them swore, and she saw somebody from her Catholic school. So she's made him pretend that he had Tourette's or something. She was so embarrassed that he swore. And I was like, oh my God, I love this woman.
That's hilarious, actually.
Her kids swear, they're 10. You're my people.
I love it. I love it.
Anyway, okay. Yes, bring us back on track here, Jill.
I think it is on track. I think that it's helpful that we're saying it in a lot of different ways. I think it's a pipe dream to get resolution from other people. We've talked about in the justice system, we want other people to be guilty, feel guilty, acknowledge their guilt, and somehow we see that as a path to our freedom. I don't like it. I don't think that's a healthy program. Mm-mm. I don't think other people have to feel like shit so we could feel better. I think we really have to be a little more self-reliant and take responsibility for the way we feel, and take responsibility for fixing that and not making it somebody else's job, whether it's the government, whether it's our school, whether it's I don't care who you need to make yourself feel better. There's no stability there.
No, it doesn't provide the safety, and I think the word is safety, that
Yeah.
some people are longing for. And it's heartbreaking to me, but I feel like for a lot of people that have just been hurt so deeply, the healthiest thing they can do is create a system in themselves in that bubble that just says, well, this just sucks. This
Yeah.
just sucks. I had to train my brain. I had to create that layer of my Jill because my brain, and we've talked about this before, is a problem solver. So my problem solver brain goes, oh, we've got to prevent this from ever happening again. We need to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. We need to. And that's that snowballing that you're talking about, leading to hardly anything that does anything like it was intended or thought about to solve. So I just feel like it's so much more real and so much more sustainable for us to have a very real voice within ourselves that whenever we're hurt or someone else that we love or care about hurts, and just say, well, this just sucks. I'm so sorry that happened.
Yeah.
Saying that to ourselves, saying that to others, to me, that's real healing. And it's sufficiently humble because like we started off with, we can't control others.
Right.
We can't control others in our kids' lives. We can't control others in our lives or our partners' lives. That's a no-win path. So we have to create a system of being able to handle the jarring nature of being hurt in this reality and choosing to make ourselves as okay as possible. That doesn't mean we're going to die, doesn't mean we're broken forever. It means that we deserve our own self-love and our own self-compassion, even if no one else is giving it to you.
And I think there are gradations here, right? So there are obviously egregious things where people do just really messed up stuff. But then let's talk just for a second about this whole layer of microaggression. Mm-hmm. That layer should not exist on any level. If you're microaggressed, like, get a fucking grip. I have no patience for that new layer of sensitivity that people who do it don't even know they've done it, let alone, and don't school me in them either. Right. So maybe I don't know how un-PC this is that I'm saying. I don't know where the world is on microaggression, but if you're that sensitive, that's a new problem.
Mm-hmm. Right? No, I'm with you.
If somebody bumps your shoulder in Starbucks, this is not a racist act. This is not an offense that should even register. So there's something to really be mindful of about how sensitive we're going down the tubes of becoming more and more and more sensitive. This is a public service announcement. Yeah. Right? That we have to get rid of this idea that everything is an offense.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. And I recognize it's not politically correct, but I do want to say that, I mean, yes, I'm in Idaho and people will think she doesn't know any Black people. I do. And I'm friends with LGBTQ people. I mean, so not everybody is as sensitive in certain communities as some people are. So there is this extrapolation of, oh, well, that's a microaggression for that member of that community. So it must be a sensitive point that we all need to be aware of for everyone in that community. And that is not true. We're losing sight of the individuality and the individual differences that every human has. Transcendence of their culture, transcendence of their melanin level, transcendent of their community, transcendent of their sexual preference and their sexual identity. It's just, this has gotten crazy. And I love that you were so bold about it. Personally, when I come across somebody that is very much in that, keeping tally of the microaggressions that others, I avoid them. I am a very kind-hearted person. And if I offend somebody, I'm normally surprised by it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I definitely didn't. So, but I'm like, I have no idea what I could be doing with only positive intent that may offend you. So I'm just going to keep a huge distance between me and you because I want to respect that you need a huge birth of safety. And I don't think I'm offending you, but you might think I am. So let me just let you be you and I can be me.
Yeah, I'm a little torn on that one. I'm a little less tolerant of that. I just don't think it serves them. It's my opinion, but I have a problem apologizing for things that I don't agree are issues. I believe they're your issues, but I'm not going to apologize for your perceptions. Those are you to apologize for, right?
Me either. That's why I avoid it. That's why I avoid it, because it's like, well, you looked away when I said this. I mean, literally they're called microaggressions for a reason. It's like, well, you lifted your eye, you wiggled your nose. I'm just like, I have no idea what I could do that's offensive, but a whole bunch of things I do can be misread and misinterpreted. So I'd rather just be like, yeah, I'm good. I'll be me, you be you, and let's be good.
But I do hope that people are hearing this in the vein that it was coming out, is like, watch how victimhood begets victimhood begets victimhood. This is a never ending. People think if we just attended to all the microaggressions, the world would be a great place, until we have the microaggressions. Like, there's no way out by going deeper into the whole. But the premise of this is, do we want to go back to the olden times of sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me? Do we want to try that back on? I think we've really lost sight of what harm is, of what victimhood is. I just think we've lost sight.
I just imagine our ancestors absolutely laughing at us. I mean, pioneer days. I mean, just all of it. I mean, just not just going, what are you mad about today? You're like, what made you cry? Huh? I'm confused. I'm hungry. You know what I mean? It's silly when you can really step out of your own nonsense and trauma and just really look at it and just go, okay, there's a part of me that may always feel triggered, that may always feel unsafe, and I need to watch out for that version of me, because she will make everybody else in the world crazy, trying to keep me happy and feel safe, right? This is an unsafe world, to the point that no one gets out of here alive, right? There is no version of humanity that is beyond the ability to feel hurt and to feel sadness. So what are we doing? It's maddening, it's frustrating. I feel like we're wasting so much energy on things that are just ridiculous. And I know I do it sometimes too. And I'm like, I'm really in this loop of this thing. And I'm kind of laughing at myself in this loop, when I'm in it. And then I'm just like, okay, then I'll spin a little bit and then I'll go, okay, yeah, never mind. I'm out. But some people are just in those loops, and I try to minimize my time for people like that, because they will always find a loop to hop into, and another way that, the world has been unfair to them. And I'm just like, and to bring up your point earlier again, the problem isn't what made them mad on that day or in this version of the offense. The belief system is dysfunctional. They have a non-functioning belief system that will never help them be the most amazing, glorious, transcendent version of themselves. It is broken, and it can't get them what they think they want. And that breaks my heart and pisses me off at the same time.
Yeah. And it's so for people listening here, I hope that there is a sort of recalibration that's able to happen of putting things in their right place without feeling so much responsibility for the way other people feel. That is not our job. Please decaffect, disconnect, let people have their own sovereignty. If they do feel like shit, I'm sorry. Like you said, I feel terrible for people who are stuck in these victim loops, that they suck an amazing amount of collective energy from the rest of us, right? We are kowtowing to this lowest common denominator. And the lower it goes, the more we, in wanting to do the right thing, we engage. And I'm saying the right thing is to disengage. It's a big deal. This is a big conversation.
It's really big. Yeah. And to understand more about the unconscious hurtful behavior, I do want to point people to the podcast series Outwitting with Tico. It's totally free. Outwitting with Tico, WETIKO. It's on everywhere that we are with this podcast. Psyched. And it may be absolutely eye-opening, mind-bending in terms of understanding how unconscious, subversive, maybe even malevolent behavior happens, so that you are perhaps better prepared for it in this reality, less sensitive, more aware, and more resilient, which I think is a win-win for everybody, you included.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. I think that's a great thing to share. I think we all need as much help as we can get here. There's a lot of rabbit holes, a lot of holes to step in.
A lot of holes, lots of kinds of holes with different stuff in them. And if you're somebody that has a lot of pain and you're regularly acting as if you need other people to see your pain, I really encourage you to just take a minute, give yourself a hug, and acknowledge no one may be able to see your pain like you need them to. So you can choose to stop that energy and just give yourself all the love you can and not need that from other people. And your relationships will improve. They will change. And you'll give yourself more energy back for satisfying, happy encounters with yourself and with this world. I guarantee it.
Yes, yes. I have chills. Yes. That's amazing. All right. I think we're done here.
I just thought about it. I've microaggressed yoga teachers.
I don't know.
High face in disguise. Just teasing.
That felt important to me. That felt good. I feel like I've been wanting to say that for longer than I realized now that the cat's out of the bag.
This was raw. Raw. Oh my God. Okay. I'm glad you just said that, because the last time I heard somebody say the cat's out, my brain wants to go, why was the cat ever in the bag?
Okay, fair enough.
But thank you for taking the cat out of the bag. I just don't understand that expression. Where did this come from? Part of my linear brain.
We'll have to Google that.